Tonight on the Black Channel, if you're gonna try to prop up someone into a phony icon, you need to choose somebody better than John doggone me Lewis. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media. This is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, brothers and sisters from around the world, boy, they are circling the damn wagons, and in their never-ending newfound campaign to take black people's eye off the ball and attempt to get us diverted on the other mess here, boy, they are kicked into overtime trying to prop up John Lewis, this Voting Rights Act. Joe Biden doesn't have anything else that's going well for him. I guess he's trying to hoodwink black folk into believing this is actually going to do something for us. It isn't going very well for them, but they have decided to double down on it anyway. They brought out all the big guns, as you know here. We're talking about just the other week here. They brought out Michelle Obama. She was supposed to be sitting up here. Oh, let's get a different picture of Michelle. No, Michelle Obama is out there and whatnot, and they need an agenda. They want an agenda. They're desperate for an agenda, and it appears what they've attempted to settle on is that the agenda should be John Lewis. That should be the agenda. John Lewis. Let's get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, because ain't nothing else going well. This is how far they're going with it here. Folks, this is the definition of stupid. This is the definition of silly, and this is what they're doing. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I heard an ad. I had heard an ad, and man, when I heard it, it's been playing for a few weeks, but when I heard it, I was like, boy, this is the definition of not gonna work. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and play the ad straight through first, so you can hear it for yourselves. And then we're gonna play the ad back with me letting you know what in the hell is wrong with this, and it is a lot.
On a faraway beach, the generation called our greatest saved the world from tyranny. In an office we know as Oval, a new generation president faced down an imminent threat of nuclear war. On a bridge in Selma, Alabama, the preacher of his time marched us straight to passing voting rights for every American. At a gate in West Berlin, a late generation American president demanded an enemy superpower tear down a wall and liberate a continent. American generations answering the call of their time with American ideals. Freedom, liberty, justice. For today's generation of leaders, the call has come again to protect our freedom to vote, to fortify our democracy by passing the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Because America,
we are not going back, we are going forward.
First of all, if ever there was an orator who sucked the life and the energy out of the audience, made them feel more frail and more weak, this was the one right here. This was the guy. I don't care how motivated you were beforehand, get ready to lose all of that. This is the guy. Talk about a rousing pep speech. This is not the fella you call.
Because America,
we are not going back, we are going forward.
Did you make out what he said? Was there anybody who actually made out what he said there? I know I'm starting the commentary a little bit early. Did you actually make out anything he said? Do we have a translation of that? Does anybody have a translation of that? I'm trying to figure out. Anybody? All right, go ahead. Somebody try to translate that for me. You can get that back to me a little bit later here. Fine. We're not going glack. We're on the water. We are now in the back of the border. I don't know.
America.
We are not going back. We are going forward.
That's your man. All right. First of all, let's be very, very clear. A couple of things here. You're bringing up World War II. John Lewis wasn't a distinguished individual about World War II in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You bring up the Cold War. John Lewis was very not distinguished about that for damn certain.
Nuclear war. On a bridge in Selma, Alabama, the preacher of his time marched us straight to passing voting rights for every American. At a gate in West Berlin, a late generation American president demanded an enemy superpower tear down a wall and liberate a continent. American generations.
So you notice here's the reason that John Lewis can't work. What they just did right here. If you want a clear illustration for why John Lewis doesn't work, here it is.
Nuclear war. On a bridge in Selma, Alabama, the preacher of his time marched us straight to passing voting rights for every American.
Now, what they didn't do was hold up John Lewis for what he was always bragging about. They didn't do that. You talked about Edmund Pettus Bridge, but you didn't talk about John Lewis's accomplishments on Edmund Pettus Bridge. You didn't talk about that at all, as a matter of fact. You didn't say anything. There's old John Jughead Lewis there now. But you didn't say nothing. There's John Lewis there now, but you didn't say, by the way, the only accomplishment he had on Edmund Pettus Bridge was acting like a damn punching bag for the white supremacists. That's the only thing he did. His claim to fame was, white supremacists beat my ass like a drum and I sat there and took it. And that's what heroes are made of. And the real problem is you're never going to be able to sell that to 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. You're never going to be able to sell that to them. This is going to be a devastating program here tonight, but I want you all to go ahead and share this and like this. To the folks who are disliking it, okay, fine. I need my folks with my likes to go ahead and keep it up for me. And go ahead and make sure you share this. Kind of important because I want you to understand they're trying to they're trying to gin up a different type of individual from that era. Because they understand that we have actually taken back the message and the narrative about Dr. King. When we talked about cutting the check, we've brought back the narrative and whatnot. They can't use Dr. King like they used to anymore. So they're looking to supplant that. They're looking to supplant that. Nobody considers it to be a badge of honor to let them sit up here and dance the damn Millie Rock on your damn head on Edmund Pettus Bridge. Don't you understand right here? Don't you young folks out there, don't be making no bad trouble right there. We need good trouble here. Don't you want to be a good man like I was on Edmund Pettus Bridge? You shouldn't be out there fighting white supremacy. What you need to do is sit up here and send them. Go ahead and laugh about it. Find your white supremacy, give him a big old hug. Find Bull Connor and give him a big old hug. Okay, you're not going to be able to sell that to teenagers. You're not going to be able to sell that to young college students. You won't be able to sell that to 20-somethings. You can't sell that message. That is a message that is DOA. It is dead on arrival. You cannot sell this message. It doesn't work. So what they're trying to do now to show you how desperate they've gotten here, oh boy, they are trying to trot out the King family. I mean, that's what white society does when it gets desperate. When they are desperate to get black folk on board, damn it, bring out Dr. King. They can't argue with that now. They are very, very apt to do that. Yank out Dr. King. You need to bring out Dr. King so we can go ahead and talk about that. That's what you need to talk about, Dr. King. So they bring out his family and whatnot, and next thing you know, yeah, this is the best they can do. This is the best they can do. Bringing out Dr. King's family. I'm going to read some of this story here for you here. As you can see in the headline, King family rally in Arizona for voting rights bill for MLK Day. Oh boy, just in time, really? All right. Dateline Phoenix, as the nation prepares to mark the birthday of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., some members of his family are spending it in conservative-leaning Arizona to mobilize support for languishing federal voting rights legislation. Talk about the damn bridge to nowhere. Martin Luther King III, his wife, Andrea Waters King, and their daughter, Yolanda Renee King, 13, took part Saturday in an on-the-ground campaign for voting rights in Phoenix. They marched with local activists and supporters from Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, a predominantly black church, and speak about the importance of, quote, no celebration without legislation. What? They wanted to speak about the importance of no celebration without legislation. Okay, I heard of no justice, no peace. I've heard of no romance without finance. But no celebration without legislation? What? All right. Quote, our daughter has less rights around voting than she had when she was born, King, the civil rights leader's oldest son, said in an interview. Quote, I can't imagine what my mother and father would say about that. I'm sure they're turning over and over in their graves about this. Arizona is one of the 19 states that have passed over 30 state voting laws in the last year, including a ban on giving water to voters in long lines and stricter ballot signature requirements that King called draconian. They make it harder for people to vote, especially people of color, he said. Another reason the family chose to appear in Arizona is to send a message to Senator Kristen Sinema, a Democrat. President Joe Biden had implored Sinema and Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, to end the filibuster that requires support from 60 of 100 senators to pass most legislation. But Sinema poured cold water on the voting rights legislation Thursday, making clear in a dramatic speech on the Senate floor that she would not alter filibuster rules so it could move forward. The filibuster, she said, forces bipartisan cooperation. Otherwise, Republicans could just repeal and replace whenever they rise to power. By the way, she's dead right. She's absolutely correct about that. And understand, this is just kabuki theater. This is political theater for black people. So they can sit up here and tell us about what they can't do. Now, when Asians wanted legislation, there wasn't no jockeying back and forth. There wasn't no, oh, there's the rules. We got to overcome the filibuster. There wasn't none of this garbage. It's only once it's time to talk to black people, all of a sudden, once again, oh, we can't get it done. All of a sudden, we can't get anything done. That's only when you're talking to black folk. That's the only time. When they wanted to get through pandemic money, things for Asians, things for gays, things for non-citizens. Oh, boy, they didn't go through any, it didn't take a political process at all. Nothing was up for a vote. When they're talking about these other people, it wasn't up for a vote. It was only when black people show up that all of a sudden, oh, it's up for a vote now. Now, all of a sudden, it's up for a vote. That's what they're telling you now. Same old same. They quote Senator Sinema saying, quote, we must address the disease itself, the disease of division to protect our democracy, said Sinema, drawing disappointment from fellow Democrats. Sinema was jeered by some of the hundreds of people attending Saturday's rally after the Reverend Warren Stewart, a prominent black clergy member and activist, said she was among, quote, those who would hide behind procedure. Okay. On the one hand, you ain't gonna make it very far because you have brought out John Lewis, who is nobody's hero. Next of all, you're not going to make it very far because you brought out the black clergy. John Lewis has no respect, and the black clergy has no audience. They don't lead anything. They don't run anything. There's nobody in the rank and file of black society who is waiting for the clergy to speak so that they may respond. It ain't happening. There's no one there doing that. This is an intellectual masturbation that you play on yourselves. It is a negative to bring out the black clergy because everybody knows that they are just puppets. Everyone understands that. Everyone. So you can keep quoting all these black clergy folk like this is some golden oldie that's going to make black folk get up and dance, but it isn't happening. You should have figured that out after George Floyd. Should have figured that out after you killed Mike Brown, after you killed Eric Garner, after you killed Terrence Crutcher, after you killed Tamir Rice, after you killed Walter Scott, the black clergy isn't running anything. Period. But just understand, remember I told you all, white supremacy doesn't update its lexicon. These are their reliable flunkies. So they are going to keep invoking their reliable flunkies because there's a message they want to get out and there's an agenda that they have and they don't want anything happening outside of it. So they just keep invoking their reliable flunkies. It doesn't matter how much it doesn't work. It doesn't matter how much the audience is dissipated. It doesn't matter to them. They go on to say the plea from the King family brings an especially powerful voice to an increasingly tense campaign to pressure cinema to change her mind. Progressive groups have installed billboards, wonder who started them on that, and aired television ads, and activists even harassed cinema in a bathroom at Arizona State University and a friend's wedding where the senator officiated. Yeah, that's going to get her vote, isn't it? Yeah, there's nothing outrageous or unbalanced about that, now is there? Congressional Democrats have written voting legislation that would usher in the biggest overhaul of U.S. elections in a generation by striking down hurdles to voting enacted in the name of election security. The legislation also would reduce the influence of big money in politics and limit partisan influence over the drawing of congressional districts. It also includes the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, a bill that would strengthen civil rights era voting law and honor the legacy of the late Georgia congressman. Now, what they're refusing to put in there is, by the way, all this will do is sit up here and bring in illegals and allow them to vote, because this is really about getting them, more of them, to be able to vote. So they keep invoking black people's names to cloak themselves in black people's struggle while they sit up here and promote legislation that will disenfranchise and completely disempower black people. So this is not news, this is propaganda. Supporters had hoped legislation would advance by the MLK holiday. Still encouraged, King urged people to take action like sign petitions and call their senators. The holiday is, quote, not a traditional celebration where you kick back, eat barbecue, and just relax, he said. This is about working. Really? So white folks' holidays, they get to take off work. Black folks' holidays, get your ass back to work. Okay, really? The Reverend Jesse Jackson, having worked closely as a young man with Martin Luther King Jr., said Friday that he was worried about the current lack of political consensus on voting rights. Previously, Republicans and Democrats in Washington had voted to reauthorize the Voting Rights Act of 1965, with both parties recognizing the historic nature of the legislation. Quote, the right to vote was the crown jewel of the civil rights struggle, Jackson said in a phone interview, adding that, quote, we're in a desperate situation. Ultimately, he agrees with members of the King family who are pushing for MLK Day celebrations to take a different tone until Congress acts on the voting rights bill. There's no time to celebrate, Jackson said. It's time to demonstrate, march in big numbers. We cannot just be silent observers in this fight. So all the civil rights retreads are out here trying to make themselves known and appearing. They're out here trying to rattle the troops. They're out here trying to rally the troops, and it's not working. Because black people as a group do not see John Lewis as any type of icon. And there's a very clear reason why they do not see John Lewis as any type of icon. You're not going to be able to rally black folk to sit up here and see John Lewis as some type of damn icon, because black folk have John Lewis on record. That's the issue. Black folk have John Lewis on record, and the record ain't very good.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my good friend, Mr. Nadler, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise with a heavy heart to oppose this mean-spirit bill. Heavy because the House does nothing to stop family from being torn apart or locked behind cases, behind bars. Heavy because you still...
Okay, I've got to say this. Brothers and sisters from around the world, as an individual who is a stickler for etymology, linguistics, grammar, and composition, John Lewis is not just a little off. This is criminal. This isn't just the murder of the English language. This is the disembowelment and dismembering of it. He's speaking a Martian language, okay? If you don't know what he's going to say better than he's saying it, you're totally lost. John Lewis is the Hannibal Lecter of the human language, of English language. He's just freestyling. This mean-spirit bill, sir, I think you meant to say mean-spirited. I'm unconcerned about your conjunctions. I think you meant conjunction, sir, and you're wrong on that one, too. Have Sharon locked behind cases. Behind cases? Were they in the freezer of a convenience store? I think you meant locked in cages, sir. No, this is the guy that they gave the baton to in order to give the rousing speech that was supposed to rally the troops. No wonder they spent so much damn time locked up, because this was the guy you sent. When Professor Black Truth speaks about an incompetent operative class, John Lewis was who he was referring to. The Sharon locked in cases. Okay, they put him in a box and taped it up. What did they do? Their children locked in boxes? Right next to the beer and the cereal? Is that where they are? Okay.
I want to thank my good friend, Mr. Nadler, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise with a heavy heart to oppose this mean-spirit bill. Heavy because the House does nothing to stop family from being torn apart or locked behind cases.
Lord, help the little congressional stenographer. Help the little woman there who has to sit up here and dictate this right here. Oh, somebody help her. I know she's trying to do all this on the fly with this Negro making up words as he goes along. She's got the hardest job in Washington. When this fellow was alive, she had the hardest job in Washington. I know she was cringing when she saw him walking up. I know she was scared. Oh, Lord, here it comes. I don't know if I got enough fingers to do this. I want to tell him, wait. Start over. Not just what did you just say. No, just start over from the beginning again. Better yet, hand me your damn speech. Let me take a look at this. Let me spell check this and correct this before you read this. But folks, by the way, congressmen have staffs. Congressmen have staffs, people. In case you all didn't know. Congressmen have staffs. They have people who work for them. They have people who work for them who are supposed to do this. I'm just sitting up here asking myself, who in the hell wrote this speech? Tiffany Haddish? Who was spell checking this? Who in the world was spell checking this? DMX? Which one of his staff members was responsible for making sure that this speech was legible? Waldo Faldo? Who was in charge of crafting this speech? Flavor Flav? No, I'm asking serious questions right now. Serious questions.
The House does nothing to stop family from being torn apart or locked behind cases, behind bars. Heavy because you still won't bring a clean dream act to the floor. Heavy because you do nothing to stop this administration assault on immigrants' families and communities. The world is watching with shame.
Insult or assault? Assault or insult? Sir, which pejorative are you trying to invoke here? We're all lost. We don't know whether to be outraged or enraged. We're all just confused.
You do nothing to stop this administration assault on immigrants' families and communities. The world is watching with shame and disgust. The late Ethel Randolph.
The world is watching. Is that like the boys and girls? The world is watching. All right. Girls around the world is watching. All right.
With shame and disgust, the late A. Fuller Randolph, the dean of black leadership during the
A. Fuller Randolph. I'm almost certain that his first name wasn't Filler. I'm almost certain that it wasn't Filler Randolph, sir.
60 reminded us that we may have come to this great land in different ships, but we all are in the same boat now.
Okay, now he is invoking A. Philip Randolph for illegals. A. Philip Randolph, he said we all came here in different ships. Okay, the illegals, no, that's not even the same damn thing. So this is what he has to show for it for getting busted upside the head in the 60s.
And just 3 short years ago, the Pope reminded this body to do unto others as you will have them to do unto you. Mr. Speaker, enough is enough. The very soul of our nation is at stake, and time is running out. The moral question is simple. Mr. Speaker, will you lead or will you follow? Will you bring a bipartisan, compassionate bill to the floor? Will we show the nation and the world that we respect human rights and the dignity of every man, woman, and child? Mr. Speaker, will you offer your brothers and sisters a life vest, or will you let them drown? We can do better as a nation and as a people. Will you be a headlight? Will you be a headlight? Will you lead?
Will you be a headlight? A singular headlight? What is he, a motorcycle? I think you mean to say, will you be headlights? I mean, if you just got one headlight, first of all, you're illegal if you're a car. You shouldn't be driving around with one headlight. Will you be a headlight? Who in the hell wrote this speech, Bismarcky? I'm trying to figure this out. Somebody help me. No, I'm not mocking here. I'm like, okay, you heard Ronald Reagan, you heard Barack Obama, and then comes janky John Lewis, and it's like, oh boy, we don't even know what we're supporting over here. We don't even know. We're having to decipher it. I mean, he literally said that. He said it twice, y'all. He said it twice just to let you know this was the major point. The whole speech was being brought to this crescendo.
We can do better as a nation and as a people. Will you be a headlight? Will you be a headlight?
Not a lighthouse. Not will you be a lighthouse, which is what speeches have said now for centuries. Not will you be a lighthouse, will you be a headlight? Will you be a headlight? Will you be a mag light? Will you be a flashlight? No, people, I just want you all to understand. Understand, this is the guy who's in charge of the speech that was going to free the captives. No wonder they stayed locked up.
Will you be a headlight? Will you be a headlight? Will you lead? Will you be compassionate? And look out for all of our citizens. Look out for the dreamers. Look out for the little children, the mothers and the fathers. The choice and responsibility are yours, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The choice and responsibility are yours. I don't even understand here. People, first of all, they're not citizens. That's the first thing. You're talking about folks who aren't even really literally legally citizens. Well, give it to them anyway. Does he even know what country he's talking about here, by the way? Does he even have an idea? If you want to know why it is that young people do not listen to you when you sit up here and invoke the name of John Lewis, this is why. This is why they do not listen. This is why they cannot listen. They do not listen and they cannot listen for this reason. They do not listen and they cannot listen for this reason. They cannot. And this is the reason why you can't listen, because this guy, take a look at the speech that he gave when he was talking about illegals. Black folk were getting murdered and are getting murdered all over this damn country. Elijah Cummings sat up there and damn near had a stroke, screaming about the mistreatment of non-citizens. The Democrats should be ashamed to even try something like this. Speaking about the treatment of non-citizens with such outrage. Do you have any speeches anywhere where John Lewis ever took to, a guy who was a victim of police brutality, ever took to the floor and railed like that about the mistreatment of black people? Did you ever hear that? Did you ever hear that? And just in case you think it was an isolated incident, you are wrong. John Lewis has done this before. He has a clear and concise, consistent track record.
To go down this road. But this discussion, this debate is making me sick. It's taking me back to another time and another place. It has the stench of racism. Too many people of color are coming to these shores. My folks were brought here more than 400 years ago against their will from the shores of Africa. And now another group of people of color, brown people, are looking for a better place. Call it what you want to call it. But I call it pure racism. And it cannot be swept under the American rug. It's not right. It's not fair for us to have a discussion of this nature. Put all of our cards on the table and tell the truth. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Now, I'm going to play that again. I'm going to play that again because I want you to see his face. I want you to see the face of John Lewis. And I want you to see his fervor, his anger, and his outrage as he speaks about non-citizens. Non-citizens. And I want you to see how he's speaking about them.
I hate to go down this road, but this discussion, this debate is making me sick. It's taking me back to another time and another place. It has the stench of racism. Too many people of color are coming to these shores. My folks were brought here more than 400 years ago against their will from the shores of Africa. And now another group of people of color, brown people, are looking for a better place. Call it what you want to call it. But I call it pure racism. And it cannot be swept under the American rug.
It cannot be stepped under the American rug. All right, here. Now take a look at the way he's speaking about that. Take a look at the anger and outrage that he's got here. Take a look at the expression on his face. It's one thing when you hear me make some jokes about him and whatnot and his absolute torturing of the English language. But it's no laughing matter when you understand that at the exact same time he was giving this speech, black folk were getting gunned down around America and by the police and white supremacists, and he was silent. There is no speech on record of John Lewis ever acting out like this on behalf of black people. There is no speech on record of him doing that. I mean, he saved it for that. He had much more sympathy, much more affinity, much more outrage for non-black people. Hell, non-citizens. I mean, not just black people, not black people, non-citizens. They're not even citizens. So for black citizens, he had no passion, no outrage. For non-citizens, the Democrats put a battery in his back and away he runs. Away he runs. Off he goes. Now that's not funny. That's not humorous. That's not the kind of thing that makes me laugh. That isn't the kind of thing that makes me giggle. That's the kind of thing, quite frankly, that ticks me off. I don't like that. I don't like that. And for somebody to sit up here and run up and try to tell me that we're going to make an icon out of this guy at this point right now, if you don't sit your ass down and have all these seats, you better have all these damn seats. I'm not for it. I'm not for it. To the young black people listening, there were some folks who have asked me here previously, Jason, why is it you beat the drum so heavily about this when you talk about John Lewis? It is because I have witnessed throughout my life as they have paved over true icons, true legends, like Dr. John Henry Clark, who was uncompromising, like Dr. John Henry Clark, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. They have never sat up here and said any of this. Ava DuVernay has not offered to do a film about any of these people here, but they bring out John Lewis, who was sitting in a position of power and made it very clear, yeah, I'm not here to help black people's interests. And this is who you attempt to prop up. No, I'm going to make sure the young people have an accurate picture of who John Lewis was. I'm going to make sure they have an accurate illustration of who he was. And just understand that this isn't an icon. He's not an icon, and they're not going to come along now and say, well, we can't use Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, the ones that these folks rally around because they identify with their experience. Well, let's see if we can grab John Lewis and rewrite his history. We will curate it. We'll leave out the parts folks don't like. Stop playing the clips of him talking about, I got my ass beat on Edmund Bridge. Don't play that anymore. Talk about him as if he marched across Edmund Pettus Bridge. Bull Connor and the white man used to do the moonwalk all over my ass on Edmund Pettus Bridge. He doesn't talk about that. They don't talk about this anymore. When they talk about John Lewis's legacy was a legacy of being proud of when folks said that he fought for civil rights, you can't show me one damn place he ever fought anything. You can't show me him fighting anything. That's the problem. And that doesn't galvanize young people. That doesn't inspire young people, because young people understand and know better. And you can attempt to sit up here and try to cloak yourself in the name of Dr. King all you want to. Just understand that's not going to work either, because we've helped update the lexicon. This won't work either. Try it as you may. This won't work. You are not going to sit up here and push people on the masses and then get them to accept that anymore. It doesn't work. You couldn't do it with your supposed young up-and-coming civil rights icons. Remember years ago I showed that. They had DeRay McKesson on the list and some of the Black Lives Matter gals, and they were just going to fabricate icons. Well, these would be the new leaders of it, and they've all crashed and burned. The new black media is still here, and notice these same media outlets haven't sat up here and said, you know what, like it or not, these are the individuals who speak for Black America. Notice they're not doing that. And they keep trying to prop up somebody. and it ain't working. As you all know, it isn't because they don't know we're here. It is not because they don't know we're here. It is specifically because they know that we are here, and they are afraid. Their whole mission has been to distract black people and get them supporting things that will do nothing for their benefit. Our job is to make sure they stay focused like a laser beam, and they do. In the chat room, Stacey Abrams is no icon. What they do is they sit up here and grab some impotent black folk whose mission it is to prop up the interests of the white establishment. That's how they become rock stars. They run for office and then they lose, which is the whole point. Your job is to galvanize votes for the white politicians, not for you to become a power broker in your own right. Your job is to help empower the white establishment. And that's why they're telling them all now, okay, we need to give voting rights for everybody except black folk. And it doesn't work. Because you're not speaking for black people's interests or to black people's interests, so it cannot work. It can't work. Not now, not ever. Not now and not ever. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we're going to see about taking your phone calls as well. Before I do that, I want to thank everyone, and everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program, either on PayPal, CashApp. Thank you very much to Yvette, Miss Cordelia, Miss Vincent, Chadwick, Mark, and Ryan, and everybody else who is supporting tonight's program. Thank you very much for doing so. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll take some of your phone calls. This is The Black Channel.
Join 6zeros.net, a forum built to discuss all things relevant to black people. On our forum, a check doesn't mean you're famous. It means your blackness has been verified by our staff. Sorry, Chad. We also have premium merchandise with same-day shipping on most orders. And when you're ready for some dope content, check out the 0 Hour blog. Don't you sign up, post. I'm having a really good time with you tonight.
I'm having a good time with you too.
Want to go somewhere private? Just for us?
I like that.
Great. Meet me at 6zeros.net. Black owned, black operated.
The white supremacists use division as a weapon, dividing our families, our wealth, rewarding traitors, murdering heroes. Yet we survived. We fought for our reparations. Now it's our turn to divide and administer God's power. I am Agent Nuria Sellers, a foundational Black American. I promise that nothing will come between us. Buy the sci-fi novel, Nothing Will Come Between Us, available January 22nd. Pre-order online today at Amazon and Google Play. Spirit of1811publishing.com. Our story, our family.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
The future of legal betting is finally here. Place a bet using CashApp with Bitcoin right over the phone. Unlike with traditional gambling sites, every bet you place with us, you're guaranteed a 50% probability of winning. All of our bets are one-on-one against a real person and never the house. We offer some of the most unique bets in the industry. Bets like, will LeBron James win his 5th NBA title? Will Joe Biden be elected for a second term? Will Tesla be worth $1 trillion by the end of 2022? You can even bet on if it will rain tomorrow. You can literally bet on any future event. Text the phrase I bet to the number on the screen. and I'll reply with a list of all our available bets.
Are you tired of being overcharged and forced into paying a monthly subscription for your Mac and Windows software? Well, if you are, currently we're having a 50% off discount on all the latest Mac and Windows software, such as AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and much more. Our 50% off discount will be ending soon, so be sure to text us NEED SOFTWARE to 323-407-8214. That's 323-407-8214. We aim to please, so expect 24/7 technical support, the latest premium software, instant software links delivered to your email, and PayPal's buyer's protection guarantee.
This is The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines here tonight. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the Blackest Radio program in existence. And we are discussing tonight about the icon that nobody wanted, but maybe I could be wrong. So I want you all to go ahead and weigh in on that. Are there any people listening to me tonight who you don't agree with me? By the way, anybody who's disagreeing here, that you believe as we come up on MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, are there any of you who are saying to yourselves here that John Lewis was a legitimate icon? That John Lewis was somebody that you admired? That John Lewis was someone that you wanted to pattern yourself after? That John Lewis fought the good fight the way that you would? That John Lewis was the kind of black man that you wanted to grow into? I want to go ahead and hear from you. Maybe I've been mischaracterizing it. So you can go ahead and weigh in your turn now. The telephone number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. And you can give us your insights. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. Maybe I'm mischaracterizing it. Maybe I just don't understand and need more information. So this will be your opportunity to go ahead and provide that. The telephone lines are now open. Let me go ahead and get caller from area code 773. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Alexander from Waukegan, Illinois.
All right, brother, what's on your mind?
Hey, great broadcast, Jason. I just want to know why do they always pop up John Lewis over Kwame Ture or H. Rod Brown or Malcolm X or James Foreman? You know, and many other brothers and sisters of the 60s that were putting in work for black people and black people only for the B1 Brigade. And just to actually I'm going to be brief, just to actually just go over, what you went over, Jason. It's sad and just utterly distasteful that this man, after all of his years in Congress, wouldn't actually put any kind of legislation on behalf of black people that were being slaughtered in the streets by the vicious and by the degenerate race soldiers in this country. And it's sad that this dude is always propped up, and he just is just like a chosen, coon/buffoon on behalf of other people and not black people.
Well, remember, this is new. Remember, this is new. This is not an ongoing, long-standing thing. This is new. They only started this in the last couple of years. It wasn't like this is something that's just been going on and whatnot. He was just basically a hood ornament. They had him buried under a blanket. He wasn't pulling any weight. So this is a new thing, but what they are conceding is that they don't have any other options. They used to trot out Dr. King as their cloak. They can't use that anymore. So they're basically using Dr. King to reference John Lewis. Here's the problem. John Lewis has no street credibility. The bottom line is John Lewis has no street cred. That's something that you can only gain from decades of putting in real work in the struggle, walking with the people, fighting with the people. John Lewis doesn't have that. Elijah Cummings doesn't have that. James Clyburn doesn't have that. You can't fabricate street credibility. Street credibility comes from the street. So you can't fake it.
That's right.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call from area code 562. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live. Put the pipe down. What's your name? Where you're calling from?
I'm sorry, Jason. Henry from Norwalk, California.
Henry from Norwalk, what's on your mind?
You know what? It's they have no clue of what they're doing, putting this guy out there. They made a mistake when Elijah Cummings died. They thought he was John Lewis. The DNC thought he was John Lewis. So, you know, they made a mistake with Elijah Cummings, and when John Lewis finally died, you know, that was the guy they wanted to celebrate. They want to keep black people down, and they keep picking these clowns to represent us for no reason at all. It's just a doggone shame. We need more individuals like you out there, and I appreciate the fact that we have you out there, you and Professor Black Truth and others fighting the good fight to represent us all. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. You know, Dr. John Henrik Clarke warned us about how we were in the middle of a never-ending struggle to write black people out of their own history. So this attempt to rewrite everybody, A. Philip Randolph, Dr. King, that basically they were here for all peoples. It was about all peoples. Once you say it's about all peoples, remember the subject will be all people except black folk. Because every time you say black folk, they're going to say all people. And every time they focus on one specific group over there, when you come in and say, okay, we need to focus on us over here too, all peoples, where we got to take care of the gays. Now, Latinos, we got to take care of them. Y'all got to wait. And it's been decades and decades, and every time you show up, they tell you to wait. Caller from area code 706, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ray Nice. I'm from Swainsboro, Georgia, and I disagree with you, sir. I think John Lewis is an icon.
Okay, I think you're being facetious, but okay. Why do you think John Lewis is an icon?
Because he practiced nonviolence, sir. If it would have been about violence, it would be different. But he practiced nonviolence, and that's the whole thing. I mean, I don't know if I would let somebody just go upside my head like that, but people that were with him at that time, they knew he practiced nonviolence, you know? So, I mean, I disagree, sir. He is an icon for his, you know, he did a lot for civil rights, whether you acknowledge it or not. I acknowledge it.
Okay, in order to be an icon, you cannot declare yourself an icon. So in order to be an icon, that has to be something that is confirmed by the masses. Where are the masses of people? Where are the large groups of people anywhere that you can show who say that he is the man that they want to pattern themselves after?
A lot of my friends say that. You know,
how old are you, sir?
I mean, how old am I? I'm 56, sir.
All right. Well, you might be right. A lot of your friends might say that. Then again, what do your friends do? Because there's a difference between saying I want to pattern myself after somebody and actually do something with it.
Well, most of them are professional people, if that's the term you would like to use. I mean, they're professional people. They have decent jobs.
But none of them are stomping against white supremacy and making our life's work.
Sure they are. They stomp against it.
Okay, sir.
I dislike white supremacy more than anybody, sir. I mean, you know, John Lewis just went about it in a different way than what I would.
No. Now, you can't say he's going about it in a different way and still legitimize it. If you're saying he was fighting white supremacy, now I would never do it the way he did it, then at that point right there, you just delegitimize the guy you're trying to defend. So which is it? John Lewis did it the right way or John Lewis did it the wrong way?
No, sir, he just did it his way.
Okay, would you choose to do it his way?
No, sir, I would not.
Why not?
Because I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't know if I could let somebody just blatantly attack me without defending myself.
Okay, but
That
according
was
to
very
you,
difficult.
okay, but according to you, that was what made him an icon. Now you're saying that you want to emulate him, but you don't want to do what he did. Sir, either you want to be an icon or you don't. Which is it?
Sir, I understand your point, but like I just explained it to you, he just went about things in a different manner, a whole lot different than I would go about doing it. But that's what makes him an icon. He did it his way.
Okay,
I
but
mean, I'm not saying
just
it
because
was
he did it
the
his
best
way doesn't
way,
mean it was
but-
the right way. You could do it your way and be completely wrong, which is the very point I'm making. You could do it your way and be completely wrong. If he's completely wrong in the way in which he's doing it, then how in the world can you sit there and try to defend it? It's not very much to defend. You can't sit here and say he's an icon because of the way he did it and then say, oh, but I acknowledge him for being an icon. I admire him for being an icon for getting busted upside the head. But if I want to emulate him so much that I would never do things the way he did it. Sir, you're tearing him down right now.
I don't think I'm tearing him down. Mr. Black, my aunt was with him on Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Did she get knocked upside the head too?
After that, yes, she did.
And did she tell her friends?
Today.
Did she tell her friends that was her proudest moment, that she didn't fight back?
No, she didn't.
Okay, John Lewis said that.
About it.
John Lewis said that.
She's not very respectful of that man. I gotta say that she's not. But I said, you knew what that movement was about, nonviolence. So
okay, wait a minute. You said that she was not very respectful of John Lewis.
No.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So I'm not respectful of John Lewis. You got family who was there with John Lewis and wasn't respectful of him. They were there with him. They knew this man and weren't respectful of him, but you are. It sounds like you fabricated a John Lewis in your head that you could look up to, and you are completely disregarding the reality of the man whatsoever.
Sir, I'll just agree to disagree with you, sir. That's
okay, how can that be then when you literally just sat here and said John Lewis was an icon because he wouldn't fight back when folk were beating on him? I admire him for that so much that I would never emulate what he did. Sir, you can't admire someone and simultaneously say I would never emulate what they did that made them what you claimed you admired them for.
He was just a peaceful person by nature. That's the way I look at it, sir. Peaceful by nature.
Okay, but he wasn't peaceful by nature, sir. What you all claim is that he was fighting for black folks' rights or for civil rights, and that was the manner in which he did it. Was not so much, that's not peaceful. Just because you are not retaliating if somebody attacks you, that doesn't make you peaceful. There's another word for that, docile.
I would agree with that, sir. Docile is a good description of that. Yes, I would. If I'm wrong about something, I'll admit it, but I won't say that I'm wrong. I'm just saying, we just have a disagreement. I don't, I look at him as a great man. I will always look at him.
And the thing that made him great, and the thing that made him great is precisely the thing that you're saying that you would never emulate.
No, I would never do that, sir. I wouldn't let anybody just smack me upside the head.
I admire John Lewis for being nonviolent in the face of people being violent with him. That's why I admire him. I would never do what he did, but I admire him for doing it, even though I would never do that myself.
No, sir, I would never let anybody just blatantly just go upside my head for any reason on any day, sir.
So wouldn't that make you that make you less worthy of respect then?
I disagree, sir. I don't think so. I mean, I don't. Like I said, what he did it's admirable in a sense because it takes a strong person to just stand there and let somebody pound on you. That's very strong and very hard to do.
Really?
I'm sure he wanted to fight back, but he just, he held his principles. He didn't fight back. He just, well, I said nonviolence with nonviolence.
Okay, let me get this straight now. I want to make sure I'm understanding you clearly. Quote, it takes a strong person to be able to just stand there and get your ass beat on and not defend yourself or respond. That, to you, is a strong person?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means that you are a weak person because you said that you would never allow that to happen. So why are you a weak person, sir?
I'm not a weak person, sir. I just, that was the way he went about doing things. I would never, just because I would never let anybody do that to me. I look at his point of view, what they were trying to do. They were about nonviolence,
Okay, but sir, the problem with what you're saying is that you cannot say one thing and somebody else say something 180 degrees diametrically opposed to what you said, and the both of you be correct. So in other words, you can't say that frigid cold temperatures are great and somebody else say balmy warm temperatures are great and you both be you can't say that 2 + 2 is 4, somebody else say 2 + 2 is 12 and you both be right. Now there's a situation where you could both be wrong, but you can't both say diametrically opposing things and both be correct. You can't say to get to our destination we have to go east, somebody else say to get to our destination we have to go west, and you both be right. Now both of you could be wrong, but you can't say opposing things and both be right. So if standing there and getting yourself beat on makes John Lewis strong, you can't sit there and say, if you stand there and get beat on, you strong. And if you fight back, you strong too. No, sir, one of you is wrong. So who is it?
I disagree, sir. I'm specifically speaking for that type of movement that he was in. Dr. King was also nonviolent too, sir. He didn't go around fighting people. He didn't.
Dr. King also didn't stand on the floor of the United States Congress and brag about it.
No, he did not, sir. He did not stand
Dr.
on
King, Dr. King also, after the letter from Birmingham jail, he pretty much made it clear, ain't gonna be too many more of these ass whoopings. By the way, read the letter from Birmingham jail. He was making it very clear. All right, now ain't gonna be too many more of these ass whoopings. Ain't gonna be too many more of them.
I've read it before, sir. You're exactly right.
Thank you. So y'all can't sit up here and fabricate some Dr. King that didn't exist. We're not going to allow that to happen anymore. Let's be very, very clear. Dr. King made it very clear. Yeah, I'm all about the nonviolent protest, but ain't going to be too many more of these ass whoopings. Just y'all on notice. So my point is, yeah, y'all need to read the whole history. That man wasn't about this eternal pacifism the way that you all try to characterize it. No, that wasn't the case.
I understand, sir.
So, you might want to think it over, brother. You can't sit up and say, I admire the man for being docile, and then say, I myself would never be docile, because what you're saying is it doesn't work. That's the real reason you would never do it, is because you know it actually would never work.
I'm going to agree to disagree with you, sir. Just out of respect for, Mr. Lewis.
Well, you certainly have articulated your point. I think folks got a lot out of that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. So I'll let him go ahead and speak, everybody. I want you to understand, 56 years old, John Lewis is his hero. John Lewis is such a hero to him that he would never emulate John Lewis's behavior. John Lewis was such a hero, he would never emulate that behavior. Caller from area code 718. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Peace. It's Gabe from New York.
Gabe from New York. What's on your mind?
Blessings, man. So if you got a minute, I just wanted to break down this crypto hearing they had last week in Congress. So they had the crypto hearing, and it was amazing. I recommend everybody here actually check it out. It was like 4 hours long, but it was a lot of information. So pretty much, long story short,
sir, Sir, what are you trying to do here? I asked about John Lewis.
I wanted to bring it home to just how most of these older black Congress people are completely inept. They have no clue what's going on. When you see the other congressmen, like they had the congressman from the Bronx, and he was like young and fly, Dominican guy. He spoke directly to the needs of Dominicans. He spoke directly to what they were talking about in regards to crypto. And all of the black congressmen were completely inept and lost. My congressman, Gregory Meeks, he asked a question for the banking industry specifically. It was ridiculous. It was like these people are bought and paid for, or they're just slow.
Well, I think you're correct about that, but we're a little off here tonight. We're talking about John Lewis, not Joe Crypto. So thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. We're brothers and sisters from around the world. I mean, I think that's a good note to end on, to be totally honest. They're starting to get in their drink tonight when they're starting to call me and whatnot. They start hitting the mollies and then call in and whatnot. So, but what I will say here is I think this was a good opportunity to show a few things. And it was good we had a genuine John Lewis supporter call up and try to explain what it is. He tried his little best, po little tink tink. He tried his best. It didn't work out very well, but he tried. So, yeah, they're going to keep up the efforts to try to fabricate an icon. They're going to keep going, and when this falls flat, they will attempt to move on to the next one. That one won't work either. That one won't work either, because you cannot fabricate genuine street credibility. You can make all the vignettes you want to. You can make all the documentaries you'd like. You can put together all the cutscenes you prefer to. But at the end of the day, people are going to look at the individual you're boosting and ask themselves a fundamental question. Do I want to be that person? Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was an icon and a luminary. She was someone you would want to be like. The legendary interview that she did on Phil Donahue's program illustrated to the world why they didn't let her on nothing else after that. She dissected and broke down the psychological root causes of white supremacy as absolutely no one has ever done before. That woman wasn't good. She wasn't smart. She was brilliant. And when you got done listening to her, that was someone you didn't just like. That was someone you wanted to be like. When you listen to the words of Dr. John Henry Clark, that isn't just someone you want to like, that's someone you want to be like. That is someone you wish to emulate. That is something you wish to do. That is the model and the mold you want to grow up in. You want your end result to look like their end result. John Lewis started bad and only got worse, and it ended the way it started. And that's why today they're trying to sit up here and tell you, well, John Lewis, go ahead and vote for that right there, because they don't have anything else. And they're really going to be upset when they listen to this program and realize, yeah, there's a reason you've gotten this far and we'll get no farther. Because you cannot fabricate an icon. No matter how hard you try, you cannot fabricate an icon. Tomorrow night, I am going to be doing a program talking about Dr. King. You all are very much welcome to join us here. Tomorrow night, I want to do a program discussing Dr. King and how over the decades they have attempted to fabricate this and turn it into something that it is not. And I want to put it in its proper perspective, especially in the 21st century. I want to put it in its proper perspective now. Because I want people to understand exactly what we're dealing with and exactly what we're up against, because people are not discussing it properly. And a lot has been said and a lot has been corrupted, but it's time for us to put it in its proper perspective for you. So tomorrow night, I want you to go ahead and join us for that. I want you to go ahead and join us for that tomorrow night. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program here. To my man Andrew, thank you very much, brother. What in the hell did he say? To Keith, Cambrel, and Najee, and to everyone who has contributed on PayPal or Cash App, thank you very much for your support tonight. We definitely appreciate that. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, over 132,000 subscribers and rising. We are the Black Media. Click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell, and if you haven't been to our website, BlackChannelFilms.com, go there now. Check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m. Gentrified Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to BlackChannelFilms.com. That is BlackChannelFilms.com. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.